Hello and welcome to my customer guide. I hope you're all doing well, and let's get started with the guide without further ado. Let's take a look at my talents first. I won't go through each one individually, but I will explain most of them in the healing mutation later in the video. You can clearly see from the talents that this is a caster build that doesn't heal through damage, as no Jadefire teachings or Jade empowerment is skilled. It plays more like a classical healer, which brings us straight to the biggest question. Is Caster Monk even viable? If you watch my videos and take a look at the beta numbers, the answer is definitely yes. And I'm talking about the numbers without the bugged Jade empowerment build. The changes to Midnight have given us a lot of buffs and quality of life improvements that have made Caster Monk much better for M+ keys. Shalon's gift is much better than Vivify thanks to all its enhancements. In addition, the Mana Tea talent Tranquil Tea is better as a caster, as the higher mana consumption gives us more Mana Tea stacks and therefore more Shalon's gift stacks. Mistline is a very strong talent for all builds and even better as a caster because Way of the Serpent gives an additional 30% to renewing Mist. The best thing for me was that we can finally heal healing spikes on the one with Way of the Serpent. The talent Tea of the Morning has been improved and fits perfectly into the new caster build. Last but not least, healer damage in Midnight is no longer nearly as important as before, and caster monks only do about 2% less damage than Mistweavers, calculated on the total damage of the group, of course. Why do I play caster and not melee? In my opinion, the most important thing is playstyle reference, as the two builds play very differently. In addition, most players have a better overview of the overall situation as a caster. I think the most important thing is that you don't have another person in the melee camp. Thanks to our weight buff, most groups already have quite a few melee players, and there's generally a lot more space for casters. If you then have to carry an AoE debuff out of the group, you lose uptime on enemies as a melee monk, which often leads to a loss of HPS. Since we have lost our interrupt, it is even more important to use these three abilities correctly. A little tip: don't use your stun at the beginning of a pull, as your teammates usually have their interrupt ready. And thanks to the improvements to the silence time, a successful kick is much more useful than a stun. A special case is when the tank takes a lot of damage right away, or a damage dealer has aggro. Look at the enemy's cast bars and use it when your teammates no longer have a kick, and ideally, several mobs are casting to negate a lot of damage. Most of the time, you don't need Paralyze to cancel a rage effect or keep a mob completely out of the pull. So use it shortly before the end of an enemy cast as a mini interruption so that they have to start over, and often a teammate will have their interrupt ready again. Be careful with the Ring of Peace, because you can also make the pull worse by sending mobs flying in all directions. I only use it to reposition certain mobs so that they stand closer together, preventing certain small mob groups with random aggro from jumping on you and your damage dealers, or as a mini interruption in an emergency. I also take care not to separate the mobs too much. Sometimes there are also boss mechanics where repositioning or not letting them through can be very useful. Use Tiger's Lust to make slow teammates faster. There are also quite a few debuffs that include movement impairment. You can completely remove these with Tiger's Lust. Detoxification is our D-spell, which removes magic, poison and disease effects from our teammates, and, like all D-spells, has an 8-second cooldown. In most situations, use it as often and as quickly as possible, because the global cooldown negates much more damage than we could heal in that time. In addition, some debuffs are specially programmed so that it is necessary to quickly remove one debuff. Otherwise, there will be too many. Exceptions are, of course, debuffs that can stack, for example, when there's usually a rule or you have to get a feel for how many stacks the D-spell must be done. Transcendence is a very useful teleport for several situations. You can trigger events, cheese certain boss mechanics, or use it to reposition yourself doing knockbacks, knockups, or distant mechanics in order to heal faster. If you like the guide, just a quick reminder to press the like and subscribe buttons to support my channel and stay up to date with Midnight. Let's finally move on to our healing rotation, which I will divide into 3 topics: consistent healing, healing preparation, and cooldown healing. Consistent healing is, so to speak, the general rotation that we want to use almost all the time. First, we want to always distribute renewing mist within our group. In other words, keep it on cooldown. This heal over time increases our total healing on the target by 6% through Lotus Infusion. And it is also very powerful on its own thanks to the Mistline talent. As a caster monk, we always place our Jade Statue at the beginning of a pull. You can find the Mouseover-macro in the description. We continue with our Thunder Focus Tea, which is also kept on cooldown because it usually has a cooldown of just 20 seconds thanks to Heart of the Jade Serpent, and consume the buff with Renewing Mist. The reason for this is that Secret Infusion gives us a continuous 8% increase in haste, which is the secondary stat we can best utilize. In addition, Thunder Focus Tea gives us the Spirit Font buff, which is our Apex talent. I will explain our Apex in a moment. We continue with Washing Wind Kick, which is also kept on cooldown. This distributes our weight buff Mystic Touch and provides a small heal to every mate who has Renewing Mist, which should usually be 4 to 5 players. In addition, the talent Vivification makes our next Shalen's Gift an instant spell, which we always use immediately if a player has less than 80% health in order to keep the group at full health. These things are, so to speak, our bases, which we always want to fulfill. Now let's move on to our priority healing, which means healing targets that have low health, have a stronger ticking damage over time effect on them, or where you can already see that they are about to take a lot of damage. To do this, we start with our Soothing Mist, a channeling healing spell with relatively low base healing but many positive effects. First, the Jade Statue also begins to cast Soothing Mist with reduced effectiveness. Second, you and your target take 6% less damage thanks to the elusive Mist talent. Third, the new talent, Way of the Serpent, allows you to move while channeling. Fourth, and most importantly, your spells Enveloping Mist and Shylon's Gift become instant spells that you can cast while running. This saves you a lot of time when you need to heal multiple players and allow you to react more quickly to incoming damage. Then we continue directly with the previously mentioned spell, namely Enveloping Mist. This is a pretty good heal over time that increases our total healing on the target by 20%. With the bonus from Renewing Mist, we heal the target 26% more, which means that even weaker heals like Washing Wind Kick or Soothing Mist have a good effect and can heal away many dots on their own. However, if that's not enough or the target already had very little health, we lose our Shalon's Gift like the standard spell of any healer, such as Flash Heal or Healing Wave, to pull the players back up. However, Shalon's Gift has 2 special features. The first is that the Legacy of the Wisdom talent always heals the entire group, but it is significantly stronger on the priority target, so always use it on the person with the least health. The second special feature is that it can accumulate up to 10 stacks, which greatly enhances the spell. When in combat, you automatically accumulate 1 stack every 8 seconds, but you can also control it directly by using the Tranquil Tea talent and consuming Mana Tea. This combination is almost like a separate cooldown, because a 10-stack Shelon's Gift brings the priority target from 10% to 100% and also heals the rest of the group very strongly. All that's missing is our new Apex ability, Spirit Font, which won't really change our playstyle, but is still a nice boost. Like every Apex ability, it's divided into 3 separate abilities, so let's jump right into the first one. Our abilities Washing Wind Kick and Shelon's Gift have a chance to give us a 30-second buff called Spirit Font, which is consumed the next time Enveloping Mist is used. It's channeling Soothing Mist with 20% efficiency on all 5 players for 8 seconds. This spell is also intelligent, which means that if it would heal someone who already has full health, it will jump to an injured ally and increase their healing. The second increases the damage of Washing Wind Kick and the healing of Enveloping Mist by 20% throughout. While during the duration of Spirit Font, these values are even increased to 30%. The third and final part of our Apex talent allows us to use this even more effectively, as Thunder Focus Tea has a 100% chance of giving us a Spirit Font buff. And as a small bonus, everyone targeted by Spirit Font receives a Shikakung that scales at 30% effectiveness. Don't overcomplicate your thoughts on the Apex talent. Play the rotation as explained above. The additional healing is not so strong that you should keep the buff for too long, especially considering that with a 20-second cooldown on Thunder Focus Tea and an 8-second channeling time, we are only without the buff for a maximum of 12 seconds. In addition, there are still some forks, so it's better to try to achieve a high uptime. The next topic is how we prepare for healing spikes, in other words, how we proceed when we know that a boss mechanic is coming up or a pull that will cause a lot of group healing. So we've done everything discussed in consistent healing, and now that a lot of healing will be needed in the next 2 to 3 seconds. Then we start channeling Soothing Mist on 1 player and distribute Enveloping Mist on 3 to 4 players. This results in all players receiving 6% more healing from Renewing Mist, and the players with Enveloping Mist receive a total of 26% more healing. In addition, you can briefly drink Mana Tea for to stack the stacks of Shelon's Gift, which makes the next Shelon's Gift very powerful. When damage comes in and we repeatedly cast Shelon's Gift on the target with the lowest health, we pull the entire group back up again. The last topic in my healing rotation is how to use your cooldowns correctly. Let's start with Invoke Yulon, the Jade Serpent. We always use this cooldown before we want to prepare healing spikes. We do this because the mana cost of Enveloping Mist is reduced by 50% and the talent Tea of the Morning increases the duration of the heal over time to 10 seconds. In addition, Shikokun is cast on everyone, which gives us a small window if we were to slow with the preparation. And Yulon also applies Soothing Breath to 2 targets, which is an additional heal over time. The next cooldown is Celestial Conduit, which is a good pulsing AoE heal over 4 seconds. The cooldown itself is not bad, but it's not super strong either, so for some damage spikes you have to prepare healing first and then use Celestial Conduit so that the heal output is strong enough. The bonus is that we trigger Heart of the Jade Serpent. Revival is my cooldown if something has gone wrong. In other words, if I wasn't quick enough in my preparations and suddenly almost the entire group has low health, or a lot of players are afflicted with a magic, poison or disease demon. This is by far our strongest instant heal cooldown. Life Cocoon is basically the same thing but for a single person. Don't skim too much on this cooldown, as it always has a cooldown of less than 1 minute due to the cooldown reduction from Heart of the Jade Serpent, and you can save some players faster with it. This concludes this guide, and I would like to thank everyone who stayed with me until the end. Please remember that this is a guide for the launch of Midnight, and of course some things may still change. If anyone is interested in my UI, you will find a link to the Discord server in the description where you can download the profiles. I hope you enjoy Midnight and the custom mode.